It started as one of those quiet mornings when the mist still hung over the lake like a silk veil. My coffee steamed in my hand, the ducks were gliding across the water, and everything was calm until I saw her. Karen. There she was, standing at the end of my private dock, hands on hips, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, the pose of someone who thought they owned the world. She was putting up a fence across my lake access. Now, let me back up for a second because this wasn't just any pond. My property sat on Eagle's Bend Reservoir, a beautiful 40-acre lake that stretched right through my land and beyond into the HOA's pristine suburban paradise. What they didn't know, or maybe didn't want to know, was that I owned the dam that created that lake. Without my dam, their fancy waterfront homes would have front row seats to a mud pit. So, imagine my confusion when I saw Karen's crew unloading posts and steel panels right across my dock like they were building the Berlin Wall. I walked down there. "Morning," I said, trying to sound friendly. "What exactly are you doing?" She didn't even look up. "Securing community access," she said. "This dock belongs to the HOA." I laughed. "No, it doesn't. It's on my deed. Built 20 years before your subdivision existed." She gave me that fake HOA smile, the one that hides pure venom. "We voted to restrict lake access to members only. You'll need a permit to use this area." "A permit?" I said. "You mean to fish on my own property?" "Yes," she said sweetly. "You can apply online." Now, I've dealt with Karen before, the grass too tall letters, the tractor too noisy complaints, but this was next level audacity. So, I walked back to my house, called my lawyer, and got the papers ready. But before I played my hand, I decided to let Karen keep building her little fence. She roped off the dock, hung a shiny HOA members only sign, and even posted guards, 2 teenagers with clipboards, wearing reflective vests like they were guarding Fort Knox. I waited a week. Then came Saturday morning, the day the HOA was hosting their Lake Day extravaganza. Dozens of families showed up in kayaks and paddleboards. Karen strutted around in a sun hat, acting like the queen of the water. That's when I made my move. I walked up to the dam's control shed, unlocked the steel gate, and turned the big, creaky wheel. Slowly, the water level began to drop. At first, no one noticed. Then, as the dock started to tilt and the boats settled awkwardly on the muddy bottom, panic spread. Karen screamed from across the lake, "What is happening? Somebody call the city." I yelled back, "Maintenance. Scheduled drawdown." "You can't do that," she yelled. I held up a piece of paper. "Actually, according to county records, I own the dam, the spillway, and the water rights. You might want to move your boat before it becomes yard art." Her jaw dropped so hard I thought she might dislocate it. Half the HOA rushed to pull their boats out, but it was too late. By the afternoon, the entire lake was reduced to a muddy basin. Her members-only dock now stood high and dry, surrounded by stranded kayaks and 1,000 confused frogs. By sunset, Karen showed up at my ranch gate, covered in mud and outrage. "You've destroyed community property," she screamed. I smiled. "Community property? That's funny. Yesterday you said it wasn't mine." "So I did maintenance on my dam, like a responsible landowner." "You'll hear from our lawyer." "Great," I said, handing her a copy of my property deed and the state water rights certificate. "Send them this. Oh, and tell them the HOA owes me $3,200 for unauthorized fence installation on private land." She turned red, like a fire hydrant about to burst, and stormed off. 2 days later, I got an email from the HOA. Subject line, "Lake Access Agreement Proposal." They offered to pay me an annual fee to maintain adequate water levels for their homes. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Now, every spring, they send their little HOA checks, and every time I cash one, I remember the sight of Karen standing in ankle-deep mud, screaming about her lake. And you know what? On hot days, I sit on my dock, toss a line into the water and smile, because whenever she drives by and sees that damn sign that reads private property, trespassers will be prosecuted. She knows. She tried to block my access to the lake, but I own the dam that feeds it. Droplet,